Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and this one's another great one. It's with Russ from Steel Belly Barbecue in Algoma, Wisconsin. Yes, Wisconsin. This is just so cool. Russ is great, so knowledgeable. He has a welding background, which is very cool. Get all into that. Talk about him coming from California to Wisconsin, to back to California to Wisconsin, and what it's like to cook in Wisconsin with an offset cooker. His menu sounds fabulous. If you're just listening to this on the podcast side, I jumped to the YouTube side because the photos of his food look so good. His brisket is spot on, some of the best I've seen. I cannot wait to visit. I can't thank him enough for taking the time. I know you're truly going to like this. You truly want to stop and visit Steel Belly Barbecue. So sit back, relax, enjoy this. Be sure to stay safe and visit your local barbecue joint.
We've been kind of road tripping all over the country like the last couple of years on our vacations, and it's like you find our city name is Algoma, and you'll find another Algoma. There's actually two Algomas in Wisconsin, but you'll find another Algoma or another Kiwani or another. It's weird that like the same names exist in other states.
Yeah. Why there two Algomas in Wisconsin?
I
That's really
I've never researched it. I have no idea,
that's
but
awesome.
there's and they're about an hour and a half apart roughly. When I talk to people, I just like our hats say Algoma, but we're right outside of Green Bay. I mean, we're 40-minute drive from Green Bay, so that's if we have to go anywhere or do anything, it's to Green Bay. So
Green Bay,
that's
and
where we're
and
at.
and people know Green Bay. If you mention Green Bay, that's probably
Oh
more
yeah,
familiar, a lot more familiar.
mostly because of the Packers. It's
I'd say probably 98% of people know it because of the Packers. Well, let's jump into this. You grow up in California then?
so yeah. I spent up until sixth grade in Bakersfield. Grew up in the valley there, and for a better way of life, my parents moved us up here just to get out of California. So I came up here, and like I mentioned before we started, it was like that was always home, and it still feels like home when I go back. But I stayed here through high school, graduated high school, and we went back to California. And I've been back three times living there, and we got married here, and the rest is kind of history. And we spent some time in Pismo Beach, and that's where I kind of fell in love with the craft of cooking with fire just because of the Santa Maria influence there.
Yeah, no, and Pismo is a little gem, and we kind of talked off camera. That's how did you end up there? Did you just randomly choose that, or had you visited Pismo and thought this is because
So
that's kind of
I,
random?
I I had a family member that lived there. My aunt lived there. It's like the place you always visit when you're a kid. Like if you lived in the valley, you always went to the beach. There's just no place like it. And it's like, where else would you want to live in California except at the beach? And it was like
Yeah,
the sleepy beach town. And it's getting busier now. We still go back and visit every year and eat some food and mingle and just relax. It's a cool place.
because you had mentioned off camera too, you're a welder. You by trade was that something that you were going into then, or is that?
Yeah, out of high school, I actually got into auto body. I went to tech school for auto body
Oh,
and
cool.
kind of became a welder as a byproduct of being an auto body guy, and decided I didn't like working on new cars. I only wanted to do like the old classic customs and hot rods,
Oh, cool.
and tried to do that on my own for a while, and it just didn't pan out. And but welding was always something that you take pride in building something with your hands, and did that for most of my career, basically from high school on. Was in the welding field for let's see, almost 20 years. So
Are you still in the welding field while you do
I'm
barbecue?
not.
Okay.
No, we it got to a point where you know I like to be challenged and I like to keep my brain working, and welding just became monotonous, and still good at it, but like it just there was no love left for it in what we were doing at that time. When I got out of the welding, I got bit by the barbecue bug and started in the backyard like everybody else. Started on a Traeger, just taught myself how to cook before I even got into the live fire and to the offset. That's just kind of where I started, and slowly started with a rack of ribs, and it quickly evolved. And then we'd have guests over in backyard parties, and you always get the you need to sell this kind of thing. And I said, no way, like never thought it would be a career. And it slowly kept evolving, and the passion kept forming, and we got asked to do a wedding for a friend, and we pulled that off. I went out to Heritage, visited with Danny, and
Ah,
his it was right when he got his first live fire table from Millscale. That kind of just the whole live fire experience changed that really inspired me to like do what we're doing. And then like I
Wait,
said,
one quick second. What is it about live fire? Because it seems like that's a bug that a lot of people catch. What is it specifically about live fire?
like growing up in the valley in Pismo Beach, they're known for Santa Maria cooking. So you go to the farmers markets, you go to any of the restaurants, they all have Santa Maria live fire pits, and you can smell the red oak. And there's something with the smell and the sights, the smells, the culture that I don't think there's anything like it. Traveling back and forth between California and Wisconsin, it was like we go on vacation and we eat all this incredible food. We come back to Wisconsin, it was quite boring. I think we did it for about 3 years, and I was like, we need to do something like this in Wisconsin. And that's really what, kind of drove me to do it, along with my father passing away.
I'm sorry.
And it like when that happened, it kind of set everything in motion for me.
Makes
Life's
sense.
too short to not do what you want to do. And I fell in love with cooking and fell in love with live fire. And I built my live fire table and just slowly started cooking with fire. And
Oh, you started with the live fire.
yeah, that was I kind of did it reverse.
Yeah,
So
that sounds like it does.
we yeah, we started with the live fire, and I started just doing burgers and tri-tips, and nobody up here knows what tri-tip is. So I worked with the local butcher to harvest tri-tips for us. And
Oh, that's interesting. You had to actually kind of explain
I
and
they had no idea. And like after they came back, they were like, "Hey, we think we can get them for you." And I'm like, "Awesome!" So the local butcher, they harvest our tri-tips for us, and they didn't know. They really didn't have any use for them. They didn't know what they were. They got ground into hamburger, and I'm like, guys, got to use that.
yeah. Well, and I cooked a tri-tip like 3, 4 nights ago, and it's great, and it gives you food for the next day. And as long as you slice it correctly,
Yeah,
it's butter. It's great.
it's so good. It's one of my favorite cut of meats. Like protein wise, it's
Yeah.
obviously we do a ton of brisket, but it's tri-tip is like we're slowly, this whole evolution of Still Belly Barbecue has been about teaching, the cultures from everywhere else, Texas, California. So we kind of blend everything together, and we're slowly educating the region up here and creating a new culture all by ourselves.
That's great. I wanted to jump back really quick because you mentioned something that a lot of people have mentioned, and I don't 100% understand like what that exactly is like. When you said you were cooking in your backyard and then you did a wedding, like
Yep.
that's a jump. Is that a jump that you and your wife, or that you were like, what was your mindset? Like, did you think, what if I screw this up? Because this is a wedding.
Yep. So it was a backyard wedding, but I think we did 50 people. It's a fair amount, and I ended up cooking 40 racks of ribs, for 50 people, and like 3 sides. And you slowly learn to scale, and you just create it.
Did they come to you and say, well, can you do this? Is this something you want to do? Or
Yeah, they asked if we wanted to. I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it.
oh, that's cool.
And
You have
I'm
the
always
confidence.
my wife Kim. She's been the backbone of what we do, and she's always more grounded, and I'm more of like the forward, let's do it type of character.
It's
So
important. It's important to have that.
yeah, so like if anybody asks, I'm pretty much always like, yeah, let's do it. We can do it.
Gotcha. You're that type of guy.
That's just how yeah. And as we've continued to grow, we've scaled a lot in the last 3 years. We actually just signed on a second food truck that we're going to be adding to the operation. So we have 2 pits now. We have the 2 primitive pits. We have the live fire table. We're looking at, we've had some good discussions with M&M, so that's not out of the cards. But we're looking at continuing to grow, and right now we're focused on building the catering side of our business. So weddings have become a real big part of our business, along with the food truck. But there's a lot that happened in between. The food truck. I never wanted to be a food truck when we first started. I liked the pop-up style, but pop-up stuff obviously is not real. The health department doesn't dig it always.
No.
So it forced us to get into the food truck as the means of serving our food. And we were fortunate enough to work at the local winery, and they kind of helped us propel into into the forefront and gave us a space with a commercial kitchen space. And that's our commissary. So our pits and our truck are housed at their offsite warehouse,
Oh,
and it works out really well.
so is that like we can kind of get back to, but is that where you pop up all the time and where you end up at that winery
No,
or
so yeah, so when we got started, once we got the food truck, we kind of just started hitting up the local farmer markets. Got invited to a couple of those, and we did do some events at the local breweries, local wineries, just on the weekends, and slowly started building our name. And then we got in to do a brew fest. We do a brew fest every year where they got 40 different wineries and breweries and a handful of food vendors, but we got picked People's Choice for best food the last 2 years, actually.
nice?
But the first one, that first year that we did that was that propelled us to get on everybody's radar because we had the 500-gallon pit there, and we were, I think the first year we did a sweet tea glaze burn end over our elote casserole that we smoke, and kind of blew the socks off everybody. They didn't know what, nobody's had the live fire type stuff here, and we're cooking out there in the snow. I think there's pictures of it on our Instagram where it's super heavy, wet snow. It was like in the middle of March, and like, we get pit masters all the time. They're like, "How do you cook in that stuff?" And I'm like, "We don't know any other way. Like it's just what we know. It's all we have to cook in it because that's what we live in."
You know what's funny is I didn't really think much about that until I don't know if you know Sheldon Mason at all.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, well
I don't know him personally.
he was up in Montana, and forever he would send me photos of like he would be in the snow, and it was freezing cold. And he'd show me like the coals, like he'd kind of dip his shovel into the ice or snow, and it was amazing. But then it made me realize, all conditions you can cook in all conditions. It just you need to change the way, alternate the way you do it. But
yeah, last year at Christmas was a standout for us. We cooked. Regular temperature was -6 degrees. We had 40-mile-an-hour winds on Christmas Eve. And I think the wind chill was about 40 below zero. People ask, there's a video of it out there. My wife was videoing from inside the kitchen. She's like, I mean, it's like full on blizzard mode, wind coming across at 40 miles an hour. And you're like trying to build the biggest fire you can to keep your temperatures.
If you could send that, I could pop that in there. That would be interesting while we're talking about it, because that's really crazy. Well, now was that something that you just have to make sure you obviously you have to work on managing your fire, but
yeah,
is it more more constant feeding of the fire, or is it?
It is, and we have I think in wintertime our air dries out. In summertime we have really humid air. So it's been a learning curve of building those bigger fires. We have an insulated firebox, obviously.
Yeah.
And the snow doesn't affect it as much as the rain does. And then if anybody knows, when you add wind is like supercharging an offset pit. So you learn to just build a really big coal bed, build a really nice clean fire, and cooking in the snow it's not as hard as people think it would be.
And maybe it's just because people are so used to, like I told you, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and
sure.
And even if it's like 40 degrees outside, for me, like I can wear shorts and a t-shirt, but when it's -6 or -10, like that in my mind, I think it's just also too, you have to be the type of person that can stand that, because there's some people that just don't like the cold, and you have to layer like crazy.
I mean, it's such a drastic difference from guys even in California or in Texas where it's 90 degrees and they're starting from 100 building a fire up.
True.
And we're starting from 0 building a fire up to hit the same temperatures of 250 or 275. Like, we have to have a much bigger fire. So
I think people find that fascinating, because like people don't think about it, but that's one of the reasons too. Like I really want to talk to you because I knew that weather was a huge factor in what you do. How did you, when you got your primitive, how did you seek out primitive? Was that something that you had talked to JD about, or do we talk to other people?
Yeah, I talked to JD. We hit up several pit builders. I think we hit up Millscale, and Centex wasn't launched at that time, I don't think. And M&M wasn't really on the radar at that time either. Moberg they had a super long wait when we had first looked. And I think we still waited 8 or 9 months at the time when we got our first primitive. I had shopped around and I was like, we're small, so I ordered the 500-gallon first. Hindsight, I should have ordered the 1,000 right away because I didn't realize how fast the 500 was going to fill up.
Mm-hmm.
And then within the year, we ordered a second 1,000. So we have the two now. They're both on trailers, and they're awesome.
So you have a 500 and a 1,000, and then
Yep.
the live fire table is something, and I'll show a picture of that, of the live fire for people. But that's something
Sure.
that you built yourself. Now, is that something like when do you tweak stuff, like, because do you think you could physically build a pit yourself?
Yeah. Oh, technically, yes. And I was going to, and then the price of materials started going up. That's right when prices were real higher. We were importing a lot of steel from overseas, and I priced out all the material through our weld shop, and it was like it was going to be a lot. And I'm like, maybe these guys have these things figured out a little bit more. There's more science to them than what I know. And hindsight, I don't know. I think we probably could have built one, but it's for the money, there was a significant amount of material. So
Yeah.
I wanted it to be right out of the gate, and I didn't want to have to mess around. So I bought it. The live fire table I built, that was a couple of night after work project, and we put that together. And we've gotten to know several pit builders in the industry now, and we have a lot of conversations on what works and what doesn't. And,
Yeah, didn't you visited M&M, didn't you?
yeah, we visited. So like this year alone, we visited Red Devil out in Bakersfield.
Oh, cool.
He's been turning out a lot of hits. Brad, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, stuff looks great.
I talk to him weekly, and I talk to Mike and the guys at M&M quite a bit too. So yeah, we took the visit to M&M and check out the rotisseries.
That must be fun too. Like, it's just nice to kind of talk shop and see what
Yeah.
people are doing. I like it, and I'm not a welder, so I'm sure you, as a former welder.
Yeah, it's fun to see how everybody does something different, and they all put their own twist on it. And it's the same with barbecue. I think we must have visited 14 or 15 spots this year just on our road trips. And
I was jealous. Yes, I felt a lot in a good way, in the best way.
Everybody cooks, everybody puts their own twist on it and cooks it their own way at their own temperatures. And
that's what I love.
They wrap briskets different in foil or paper or, foil boat, or everybody's different. And I've tried them all, and it's fun. Everybody has a different flavor. Everybody has a different texture. Everybody has a different palate, and it's all great. It's fantastic.
Your brisket looks fantastic, by the way. How did that journey with making brisket start? Was it online, looking at YouTube stuff, or what was?
So yeah, we started. I look back and you laugh at, like, you start with making one, and then you make three, and then you make five, and now it's like I'm trimming 25 for the day every time now, almost. And it's like you look back and now we're so relatively small compared to a lot of the Texas or California operations, and we're cooking probably 50 a week now that's kind of our number.
Mm-hmm.
And they for the most part sell out. So we very rarely have any brisket left, and if we do, it goes into the chili. So but we started with one, and I used to do a mustard slather, and we would use a shaker and do each one by hand, and trimming gets faster and production gets faster, and you keep doing more and more and more. And
or were you watching videos, or were you talking to people, or did you go try it?
Yeah, I didn't talk to a lot of people. It's mostly just going and trying, and then there's obviously like Chud videos, or there's videos out there on stuff, and the Franklin stuff. And it's slowly evolved, and I started with wrapping in foil, then I went to paper, and then I went to the foil boat, and then I went back to paper. And I've done the cooking them all the way through naked, and then wrapping them to rest in foil and back to paper. And you're constantly chasing the perfect brisket.
I love that.
And we've gone away from the slather, and we've kind of worked on our trim to get it where it's at. And we do super heavy rub. We basically dredge them and play like it's in a sandbox. And we've that's kind of the way I like it. That's the texture I like. Um, I like the flavor profile of it, and
That bark, yeah.
so we've really, yeah. There's layers of bark there.
I
So
love it. No, I like that too.
that's how it started, and it's just cooking. You know, like people, you talk to other pit masters, and everybody does something different. And like for a while we were foil boating, and I talked to the guys in California, and they're like, we can't do it. We can't do it out here. And I'm like, I think our humidity has something to do with it. And we don't run a water pan, but I think our air is just so heavy that it allows us. For a while we were foil boating, and now we're not. But
That's interesting. That makes sense.
it's you talk to people, they're like, how you doing, this and that, and it's we slowly have started to talk to other people and figure out what's working and what doesn't. And I still chase, I'll do one or two a different way out of the batch of 25, and like
Oh, that's
try
great.
and try and figure it out. You're always looking for another edge to make it. You're always chasing that perfect bite. So
I love that.
um
No, that's cool. That's something that you're really passionate about, and that's the people that eat your food might not know how lucky they are because and I'm sure that there's no one else around you that's making food like that. But and so they kind of know they're lucky, but it's great that you're really trying to, because your brisket, like I said, it looks killer. It looks like as good as I've seen. So I think that's really, I want to talk about your menu, and then the door opened again. Is there a ghost, or is that a
oh,
dog? This
no, I have a dog that keeps coming in
Are you sure?
there. Now he's
Uh,
shut.
I was hoping I could tell people, and also check out that there's a ghost twice but I'm wishful thinking because Tejas has a ghost, and so
Oh,
that's they have it's actually they've caught it on camera doing things, and at least that's what
wow.
Scott Moore says. He sent me video, and I made a video about it like 5 years ago, just for fun, to see if anybody
Sure.
would watch it. So at Steel Belly, how did you get the name? And then let's talk about your menu, and then also
Yeah,
the
so the name, I was a welder. Like I said, I've been welding and dealing with steel every day is kind of where it came from. And we were just sitting at the weld bench all day, and it's like when you're welding under the hood and you have your helmet down, like you have a lot of time to think to yourself. Like I, I don't know. It was like a name that just came to me while I was welding one day, and it kind of stuck. And we created the little logo, and
I love it.
we kind of branded it. The rest, it became its own thing, and
No,
now
it's
people
it's
know.
catchy. It really is catchy, and it's not like it's not your last name. It's something that's different. I like it.
That's where it came from.
Okay.
The menu, we have a couple different variations of menus. It's you know First and foremost is our Texas style, and I love doing the trays and the sliced brisket and the sausage ribs. Our culture was not prepared for that when we started doing trays of food.
I can imagine.
Um, so we still utilize that when we're doing certain events. So wineries, breweries, that crowd seems to like it. Um, if we're at some of the markets, we do get some customers that want to come and do the whole sliced. You know, we build a big tray and they take it, and the whole crowd's like, "Wow, that's incredible!" So that's what I love doing. But ultimately, in our education of teaching the craft of barbecue to people, it's been a struggle. So like we have a big sandwich culture. So we obviously do our brisket sandwich, pulled pork sandwiches. Burn ends are always popular. I don't think we've ever come home with a burn end ever. So, whether we make 3 pork bellies or 5 pork bellies, or it doesn't matter, that they go away. So we do brisket, pulled pork, ribs, sausage, turkey, basically all the staples. We do tri-tip. I don't have it on the menu all the time. It has to be the right clientele to take, to understand it and to
Yeah.
order it. But when we do it, it's successful at the breweries and the wineries. The people that come for it know what it is, and we often get compared to. I haven't had this since I was in California, so and that's what we want. It's
Yeah.
it's it's bringing all of those cultures together to create what we're doing.
They're exposing people to different things too.
I've been kind of working on the city of Green Bay to do live fire cooking at the market, and they have not allowed us yet, but I think eventually, we have to keep working them. And it's once we can get them to understand what it is and how it will completely change the landscape of what we're trying to do, it'll be popular. But
Yeah.
we keep working with them.
Is it because of regulations or
It's
just
just
not
it hasn't been done. Yeah, it hasn't been done yet, so
not
there's a
familiar?
little. Yeah, they're just unfamiliar with it, and you go to California and you'll have a whole street lined up with vendors doing it, and
Yeah,
it's just how it is.
yeah. Yeah, no, it is different. It's also too what is I wanted to before I forget, what can you explain what Wisconsin is like, or Algona or Green Bay, for people, because a lot of people haven't visited Wisconsin. I've driven
Sure. Yeah.
through.
I mean,
I
I'll start with Algoma. We live in a town of 2,500 people, 2,700 people. So it's really small. And we have
Yeah.
3 or 4 restaurants here, and they're all bars. So they're bars that serve food. Is where we're a food truck that serves food and not alcohol. So we have to work extra hard to get people to come just for the food, because we don't have that drink component that the local establishments do. Green Bay is a bigger market, but it's still only 100,000 people.
Wow.
So all of Brown County, where Green Bay is about 300,000 people. So it's still relatively it's a
Yeah.
small metropolis for having the Packers in
Yeah.
house.
I feel like I have 300,000 people like within like 5 miles of where I live.
Yeah. So it's still small town culture. It's just people like their cheap drinks, and I don't want to say cheap food, but that's what
Food,
people
but
like.
food to go along with their cheap.
Yeah. So, for us, my end goal is to do a brick and mortar at some point, whether it's here in our little town or in Green Bay, or, that's on the radar. That's what I want to do. And I want to create that live fire cooking experience crossed with Texas barbecue on the offset pits, and really create something special that nobody's done in Wisconsin.
Are you getting a lot of repeat business?
We are, yeah. The social media has helped. We have a fairly sizable social media following.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we get a lot of customers now. Like this Friday, we're doing a quick pop up for our burgers. We do a smash burger, and
A
we're gonna do
smash
Frito
burger. I was gonna
pies.
say you're a smash burger. I had that on my list of because that looks gorgeous.
Yeah, so we don't run them all the time. So like we do that as a pop up, and we'll just pull the food truck up in our parking lot at our kitchen there, and we do a text ahead to order, and we did it a couple weeks ago. We sold, I think, 260 burgers for the day, and we sold
Nice.
out, and it's a good day.
Yeah. So then,
But
like, I think you probably would have some burger in your menu at all times, like just because people see it.
yeah, so like going back to the menu, I didn't even get to finish with the sides and stuff.
Yeah, because I was
So
talking
we
about
do
mac
this.
and cheese too. Yeah.
Yeah, we do smash burger. We obviously do a smoked brisket burger, similar to every other barbecue joint. Um, there's only so many ways you can do it. I make a barbecue bacon jam that we put on it,
Oh,
and
cool.
we use our smash burger sauce on it. It's really good. But that's another. I don't run them all the time. It depends what we have for trim and brisket and sausage, and we have to mix and match and use it when we can. And sidewise, we do the basic slaw. We do a loaded potato salad that has become super popular. Um, that's a Yukon Gold we load it with bacon, green onion, and cheese. We do a sour cream dressing in it. So it just tastes like you're eating a loaded baked potato, but it's cold.
I love it.
Mac and cheese. We waited a while to do our mac and cheese, and once we brought it out, it's become a staple. We make anywhere from 40 to 80 pounds of cheese a day. On a food truck is a lot. So we figured out the systems to make large quantities, and to do it fresh. So we boil the noodles fresh and keep making fresh batches. So everything's small batch, and it's always fresh and
And you're
never
using a
separates.
local cheese?
Uh, we do. We switch back and forth. So I do a white cheddar mac. We have a local farmer that owns a cheese factory that we've been working on doing I want to do a snow cheddar mac. So
Cool.
it'd be a vary with Wisconsin specific cheese.
Nice.
That's locally made here. So, and then
Yeah, because Wisconsin, obviously, people know it for dairy and
yeah,
cheese.
everybody wants us. Cheese curds are popular up here. Everybody wants. They do the battered and fried cheese curds, and I have a friend that runs a cheese curd food truck, and that's his jam, and
Oh, really?
he does it better than anybody.
Yeah, like what's funny is a lot of because I used to in a past life I helped open up cheese shops and we'd ever so often get cheese curds and I didn't realize how squeaky they are when
Yeah.
they'd love that. Like I think most people probably haven't had cheese curds in their life.
And if you ever get one where they're the cheese curds made that morning and they batter them that day and fry them like all within a short window,
Mhm.
it's unlike anything else. They're
Oh,
incredible.
okay. Well, when I visit you, I'm going to try that for sure. I'll have to go. So does he pop up often too, like around where you
Yeah,
do?
he's all over the place.
Okay.
We all kind of do the same events, the same markets, the same
Oh, cool.
weekend festival type things, and it's fun. We've gotten to meet a lot of great people through the food truck.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's also people that have a similar mindset. That's nice to kind of connect with those people.
We do slaw. We do a lot of people up here. I like a pinquito bean or like a ranch style bean that's a little bit more savory.
Oh, cool.
Guests up here they tend to like their sweeter baked beans, so we do offer two different bean variations that I rotate in and out. We do elote casserole that won us an award. So everybody does the elote thing. It seems to be pretty popular now.
Mm-hmm.
We mix it all together, put it on the pit, smoke it, dust it with fiery Cheetos.
Ah, nice.
It's a fun one. Mac and cheese, two different variations of mac and cheese. We do a smoked cheesy grit. That's grits are another one of those culture things. Like the people that have them, they really love them, but you got to educate the people on what they
Oh yeah,
are, and so
people are
and we do a
probably not
bacon
very
grit.
familiar with grits in Wisconsin, I'm sure.
No, but we do a smoked cheddar in that, and a little bit of sriracha, and it packs a punch, and they're really good.
Yeah, that'd be delicious. I don't know. I think a lot of your stuff, it sounds like once they try it, then they're
Yeah,
hooked.
and it's like that's been our it's I always joke that we're educating or changing the culture one tray at a time or one plate at a time, and that's been the whole focus is staying patient. I'm not always the patient kind of person,
Yeah, it's hard.
but it's just educating. You have to keep educating and keep teaching everybody. And we have, I mean, we've done one cooking class. I'd like to do some more. And maybe even some coaching, like one-on-one type pitmaster stuff where they can come and shadow. And we're cooking enough proteins now where it's a full time. I mean, it's more than full time. So give people the opportunity to come and learn and bounce ideas
Yeah.
off each other and talk business and shop. And when we first got into it, it didn't seem like there was a lot of business owners willing. Not a lot of people share the information about the business of barbecue. Seems like everybody has content on creating good food, but there's not a lot of content out there for creating a great business.
Mm-hmm.
And we started from ground zero and we built up what we have, and it's still moving forward, and we're still learning and growing. And I like talking shop. So
No, that's important. No, I've often thought that's something that I wanted to do a series of the business of barbecue because I thought that would be something that would be really intriguing to people because people, everyone thinks that they can cook or everyone's been told, like you said, that they have backyard skills and oh, you should take this and make this a business. But it's when you running a business is completely different than just cooking barbecue. So it's I'm not gonna put this part in, but I think it's something that I think people, but I just don't know who would want to. A lot of people don't want to divulge stuff because maybe they just they don't want to because some people aren't good business people and so they don't probably
sure.
want to talk about it. I've worked for two barbecue people that were some of the worst business. One guy in LA when I worked for him, I had to go every single day to Wells Fargo to reverse bounce checks
Oh
and
no.
and it was because I was managing his restaurant, like it was awful. And the guy, one time the baker stopped, he said, Kevin, he said, if you talk to Michael, let him know that with the amount of money, the fees that he's racked up, it was 38,000 in 1 year of fees. He said he could hire another employee, or he
Oh
was just
yeah,
he just mismanaged this bit, like a lot, but because a lot of people don't know how to run a business. It's not.
sure. I shouldn't say that we knew, but we we had to learn, and it's been a learning curve, and I'd say we're on the higher end of the successful businesses in the food truck
Yeah,
realm. There's I think a lot of them are struggling right now. A lot of them are cutting corners to
yeah,
save money and quality of goods, and it's not, we've always had kind of the zero compromise mentality, and we're always using certified Angus beef, and we always use fresh products, and we make everything from scratch all the time. And you go to the local establishments and they're scooping coleslaw out of a tub that they ordered in, and it's like,
yeah.
it's just not the same.
No, it's not the same, and you could tell the difference, and also it just shows like kind of a lack of caring. It's more so, and but a lot of people feel like they have to do that because to make any money, and it's a shame
Yeah,
because I think that what you're doing, as long as you stick to your path, I think that makes a lot of sense, because people, you'll get that repeat business. You'll get people realizing that they have to pay a little bit more, but they're getting something special. Like how was the mindset too with pricing? Were people
when we first came out, we were um, higher.
yeah,
I've actually last year we lowered prices a little bit on some of the sandwich stuff, and but our volume went up. So by dropping your sandwich $2, we sold. I'd have to look at the percentage, but we sold more sandwiches, and made more money
so it
at
makes
a
sense.
lesser price point. So that can become a slippery slope though if you're not selling sandwiches
Yeah,
and you're losing money.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but for us, it's been successful for pricing. Obviously,
yeah,
the trays of barbecue is a price shock to people because nobody's prepared to spend 100
yeah.
or 130 or $140 on a tray, and they're just not used to it.
Mhm.
It's like they can't fathom, even though they're going to feed 4 or 6 people off of it. They're not accustomed to it.
Yeah,
So they're used to going to the local establishment, spending $10 for food and drink per person, and
yeah,
like they're out of there for $40. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and it's hard to achieve now, kind of anywhere you go. But we have establishments that still try to they make their money on their alcohol, not on their food. So
Yeah, yeah. They could as a loss leader, like they could lose a little bit of money off the food, or break even because
yeah,
they're making so much money on alcohol. Yeah, it is tough, and it's interesting. I'll see trays all the time, or platters come across my Instagram. I'm like, that's 190, or that's 110. That's good. Like people, it's just funny how like some, and also too, like I see people that that would want a free tray, and I'm like, that is wrong. You should not take a free tray for this is someone's business, someone's money. Like, yeah,
yeah.
it is. Yeah,
We've
go on.
we've been blessed, like as we've traveled and gotten them. We're all friends on Instagram, but like this last trip to Texas, we got to meet so many guys that we're friends with on Instagram, but we finally got to meet them in person and eat their food. And it's like, I want to buy everything that I can to support their business.
Same with me.
And a lot of them are like, oh, you got to try this and that. And they keep bringing extra stuff up. And it's like,
Yeah, that makes sense. Like that stuff, like I'm okay with someone bringing out something extra, like to say you got to try this. But yeah, like I'm not cool with the people that like go around and like want free food constantly, because this is like
sure.
I want to support these people and above support them, and like support their employees, or if I could do anything to, because it's running a small business, and also too because I love the culture and the people so much. I don't want this culture to die. I don't want barbecue to go away, or these restaurants to fail, because
Yeah,
that's part of what I love about these all my friends. I want them to be successful, and yeah,
sure.
it is wild. But you really did get a chance to go to some really great places too.
Yeah, we went, I think this year we went, the California trip was good. And we're going to do another one here, probably end of February, March, maybe.
Let me know,
And we'll
because if
go,
I'm still around, I'll like to hang
yeah.
out.
And we always hit up Danny down by Heritage. Moose was gone last year on vacation, so we didn't get out to Moose. Nick Predite up in Los
Ah,
Alamos is a unbelievable gem of a spot. Like, people need to go out there and do
yes.
that. We went to Rough House, Jason over in Oxnard,
Oh, cool.
doing really great things.
Yeah, his food looks great.
Uh, Mike's backyard's up in Bakersfield, and Red Devils up there, so we went and visited those guys. And then in Texas, I think we did 9. We did 9 in 5 days. And I was brisketed out at the end. My wife was like, "No more brisket this week." So, but
At
it's
least, at
fun.
least she stuck in for that. That was, some. It's funny because I in a previous life I was married to a vegetarian, so it's like that made my life really interesting because we'd always have to cook 2 meals, or I'd have to, I'd have to eat a lot less meat than I want to, and I don't eat like meat for everything, but it's still it makes it hard when you're with somebody that doesn't eat meat at all, or isn't
Yeah.
accepted.
No, it's like, yeah, by Friday of the Texas trip, we were like, my wife's like, "I can't eat another slice of brisket." I'm just,
Yeah, well, you could eat. There's a lot of other food options in Texas.
sure. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we did. I mean, we went Goldie's and burnt bean, and I mean, it was barbecue heavy, obviously, but I think we squeaked in an Italian meal and a burger meal somewhere, probably.
Are you seeing the culture of barbecue change at all in Wisconsin? Are you seeing other people trying to cook or cooking at home or buying offsets or?
There's, as far as commercially, there's not really. I think Milwaukee's got a couple offsets now, and those guys are still doing pop-ups. So it's at the commercial level. No, we're basically the only ones. I think there's one other food truck that has an offset. So there's a handful. I mean, they're not very popular. I shouldn't say popular. Their businesses are probably popular in their area. But I'm saying offsets in general aren't really that popular. Everybody that's commercially cooking is mostly doing the pellet thing, or the gas assisted stuff.
The old hickories or
So it's just it's not super popular, and I don't know why, but it's a lot more work. Obviously, just sitting by a fire all day, it's a dedicated job, and it's my passion. Like every day that I'm sitting by the fire, like I'm just in absolute heaven, like cooking my food, and it's.
I was going to ask you that, but that you just answered it yourself. That's killer. That's really cool. Because I was asking if you enjoy it and if you like that. I think that contemplative kind of Zen focused atmosphere is really great for the soul.
Yeah, and it's I don't. Eventually, we're going to have to find another pitmaster to help out as things continue to expand, and we're prepared for that. We're preparing for that. Probably this year for sure is going to be one where we need to have another pitmaster on hand just to keep up to demand. And I think we have our systems in place. That's the one thing that we've worked on as we've scaled and grew is putting the systems in place to allow us to scale and keep our food consistent, and the recipes, and
that's important.
It's we can scale now. So there's days that our larger vending days are 1,000 to 1,200 customers, and we can do that. So now we're adding a second truck, and it's being able to double that. So that's the goal for this year, is to get that truck staffed and the other truck running and catering, and continue to grow with it.
And then 2025 possibly would be the brick and mortar, not this year.
I'm not going to rule anything out.
But probably not. Chances are.
Yeah, I mean, if the space becomes available, that's right. And
gotcha.
I think I'm trying to be patient with it and let it happen organically. I want to, like I said, I want to force myself into one, but it's probably not the smartest business decision. So
yeah,
I'm trying to let it happen organically, and when the right spot comes, we'll know, and the following will be there, and it'll all work out. Yeah, for us, like the brick and mortar, obviously as the end game, it's going to be, I think we're going to be not an uphill battle, but I think we're going to have to create a true destination to really be successful in what we're doing. We will have that local support from our locals, but I don't know if it's enough that the business can thrive on it. And it's Hoodoo's in the same boat. They're up in Connecticut, and they're doing great. Obviously, and that's one of those things is like, we're not in Texas and we're not in California where
Hmm.
there's the huge populations. So we're going to have to turn ourselves into a destination where
Definitely.
people are going to fly here and eat our barbecue.
Yeah. Well, it said that's like I mentioned Blake, like that's something too. Like you have to create something that makes people want to drive out and visit. Yeah, like Hoodoo is that's a and actually those are people too that you can watch from afar and see how these people are doing it
Sure.
to make it work. What are the nearest cities that people can fly in to visit you?
Green Bay will be the easiest. Green Bay or Appleton. Green Bay is
Okay.
going to be a bigger airport, but there are a lot of direct flights, especially if you fly like a Legion Air.
Okay.
They do the one way in, one way out of Appleton.
Oh, cool.
Appleton's probably a 45-50 minute drive to
Oh,
Algoma. But if you look at our calendar and we're in Green Bay, we're coming into the Packer off season, but we do all the Packer home games right there at Lambeau Field. So the
oh,
trucks usually set up there for if you're traveling in for a Packer game.
oh, awesome.
Uh, we're real easy to get to for a Packer game. But it's so yeah, Green Bay is 40 minutes. Otherwise, Milwaukee is about an hour and 45 minutes to the airport from where we are. So
That's not bad for anybody in California or
yeah,
Texas. We're used to driving, but for other people, that's too far away.
but for us, that's what is that? That's 130, 40 miles, I think, like to Milwaukee, and it's like we
That's
can go
20.
there. Yeah,
That's 20 miles for me going somewhere. If I drove the Moose, it could take me an hour and 45 minutes.
sure.
That's
Yeah,
just
so it's we're not super hard to get
okay.
to, and it's basically all country living and small town, and we're right on Lake Michigan. So it's a scenic drive, and there's hotels right in town here where you can stay right on the lake. And
Well, that's awesome. And it's important to do those things in your life. I feel like it's important, and they can come visit you. They can go other places, and then they could explore. And then Milwaukee, like that's something people do travel to Milwaukee for business, or people do go there. So
yeah,
that's an hour and like hour and 45 minutes. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something. And I think that I'd watched something on Milwaukee. Milwaukee is an up and coming city. Like there's a lot of aren't there a lot of
there's a
cool breweries and things like even though
oh
it's
yeah,
known for beer, but
yeah, there's a big food scene down there,
yeah,
and like you said, the breweries and wineries seem to be everywhere now.
yeah,
Seems they can go anywhere, and our local winery in town has been a big advocate for us, and they've helped us grow. And they just launched a distillery, so they're doing
that's
spirits
rad.
also. And
That's cool. That's fun.
yeah, there's more stuff coming in the works, I think, but collab between a lot of great things going on in our little town.
Nice. And so you is the best way to find out where you're going to be? Is that through your website or through social media or
Facebook and Instagram is
okay.
going to be the most up to date. I do try to update the website, but I'm slow at doing the website. And Instagram's just at your fingertips. So
Okay.
it's Instagram and Facebook are always going to be the
Perfect.
best for where we're going to be for the week.
Okay, I'll put links below, but what is it? Steel Belly
So it's just
Barbecue?
yep at Steel Belly BBQ
Mhm.
is on both Instagram and Facebook,
Easy. Super
and the
easy.
website steelbellybbq.com.
And then you could also buy merch.
Yep, we got hats, t-shirts, sauce, rubs. We got 2 rubs that are on market. We're working on bringing our mustard sauce to the line.
Oh, cool.
It's just been little bit of a slow process to get all that stuff put together,
Always
but it's
is.
coming. So
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want people to know about you or your business before we log on?
not too much. I just can't express how much we have a passion and love for what we're doing. Um, and a lot of people don't understand that passion, and our food is not like others. And traveling across the country, we're up there with the who's who of barbecue, and it's we're humble in it, and it's truly a passion. Like it's what we live for, and what I love to do, and it's it shines in our food, I think. So
I think so too. No, and I think that after watching this or listening to this, people will know that. That's something that's what was important that I wanted people to come across because like, your food looked fantastic, and then now there's a reason why that is. It's because you care so much, and
yeah,
that's that's
and
awesome.
don't be afraid to order a tray of barbecue. That's the if you've never had barbecue, order a tray and like experience it how it should be.
Definitely.
Um, you know, going back to the menu items, game days and depending on the event, we have a quick service menu where we do our loaded mac and cheese bowls. We put brisket or pulled pork and sauce, onions
Nice.
on top of our mac and cheese. And it's like this stuff is so popular, but it's not the way it's intended to be served, but it works for those events. And, obviously sandwiches are always a staple.
So people can come up and say, what can people just say, build me a tray?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't, depending on the venue, if we're at a brewery or winery, I'll have it on there as a la carte or plates, and we can do it. And we always, the people that know barbecue, they're like, I'll take one of everything and then I'll just build them.
I love that.
That's,
I know.
That's how we want to do it. And that's how I order when I go everywhere. I'll be like, I want one of everything.
Yeah, just exactly. That's because how are you going to know? How in my silly mind, that's the only way you can figure it out. That's excellent. But thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you too for sticking in with my hectic schedule, because my life has been just backwards and upside down. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate this, and I cannot wait to visit. And also too, Wisconsin's a place a lot of people haven't visited. So get out there, and travel and see the United States. This is some place that, and then across. So you said Lake Michigan. So Michigan's on that side. Then Minnesota's right there, right? Too. Isn't that not right there?
So from us, we're about a 6-hour drive to Minnesota. Okay. If you want to hit the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
I know there's some spots up there, and there's barbecue everywhere. I mean, really, if you start to look around, there's barbecue everywhere, and it all needs to be shared. And that's one thing I do is I try to share, like obviously the podcast, you guys, and Tales from the Pits, and the pit builders stuff, like, the ones that I'm friends with, or I try to share everybody's stuff because it's important to keep spreading the love of barbecue and keep growing the culture. It's the only way it's gonna.
I agree. It's funny because I see a lot of people just share their own stuff, or just and it's like, really, like this is like social media. There's a lot of beautiful things. There's a lot of beautiful pits being built.
Yeah, we're always welcome. And everybody that we've had a few people reach out already this year that say they're going to travel up to see us. So cool. I'm like, we welcome you with open arms. You're always welcome here, and can't wait to serve you.
I can't wait.